My father, Joseph Tong, was born in Xiamen, Fujian Province in China on July 17, 1941. He was the youngest of 7 brothers and 1 sister, and his father died when he was just 17 months old. Raised by his mother, he immigrated to Indonesia with her along with 4 of his brothers and 1 sister. Although my father's childhood was marked by poverty, he would share fond memories of his childhood, such as playing Tarzan with his brothers and his mother, teaming up with his brother Caleb against his brothers Solomon and Stephen, and mischievously walking along the rooftops of homes in Indonesia. I also believe his childhood is when he developed his high esteem for education. Several times he shared with me the deep sadness he felt as a child when he lost his money to pay for school because he had a hole in his pocket. He was raised in a spirited household by a spirit-filled mother who faithfully prayed for her children. Of my grandmother's 7 sons, 5 of them dedicated their lives to full-time ministry for the Lord. At the age of 16, my dad was called into ministry, and he entered Southeast Bible College in Malang, Indonesia, at the age of 17. It was there that he met my mother, Joy. He saw a picture of my mother before he had even met her, and he would tell me that the Lord told him he would marry her. My mom would often tell me that he was very shy and quiet and was always reading a book. He graduated from Bible college at the age of 21. In 1965, at the age of 24, he married my mother at Tong Church in Bandung, Indonesia. Shortly after, he was ordained as a minister in Indonesia. In 1971, my father immigrated with my mother to the United States. They spent a short stint in Indiana and then moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where my father studied at Calvin College and Calvin Theological Seminary. He graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts and a Bachelor's of Divinity in 1974 and a THM in 1975. During his years in Michigan, he also worked at a factory that made parts for Herman Miller chairs. He was so diligent and efficient in making parts that he asked to be paid by the piece instead of by the hour, and this allowed him to make as much as he would working a full shift without having to work a full shift. Shortly after, my parents moved to Los Angeles so that my dad could further pursue higher learning at the University of Southern California. In 1978, he graduated with a PhD in educational psychology, specializing in personality and socialization, research methodology, and counseling. In 1991, my father received his MBA specializing in church administration from the Graduate Theological Foundation in Indiana. After my dad graduated from USC, my parents welcomed me into their family. We lived in the San Gabriel Valley in Monterey Park, Alhambra, and El Monte, and we attended this church, Chinese Evangelical Free Church. For many years, he was a lay pastor for the Mandarin congregation, and he served as chairman of the board and interim senior pastor as well. The Lord took the shy and quiet Bible college student whose nose was always in a book and turned him into a passionate theologian and preacher with a booming voice. He was heavily engaged in theological education for over 60 years. His concentration was in systematic, philosophical, biblical, and pastoral theology, education, and church management. He served as the president of International Theological Seminary in Los Angeles, California, and Bandung Theological Seminary in Indonesia for many years, retiring in 2008 and 2009, respectively. But before and after his retirement, he was heavily engaged in speaking at conferences, seminars, teaching at various churches and schools throughout the United States, China, Brazil, the Philippines, and Indonesia. He founded over 8 theological seminaries and training centers in Indonesia, the U.S., and China. And in China alone, there have been over 1,000 graduates from his seminaries. He was responsible for bringing over 1,300 key church leaders, pastors, and theological teachers from the Third World to the United States to complete their advanced studies, obtain their master's and doctoral degrees, and return to their home countries to serve the Lord there. In 2017, Calvin Theological Seminary, his alma mater, honored him with the Distinguished Alumni Award in recognition of his work in promoting Christian higher education around the world, but especially among the Asian community. My father has written hundreds of articles, books, and treatises, and most of his works have been published in Chinese and/or Indonesian and are available on the web. Preaching, pastoring, and theological education was my dad's main calling in life. However, he was someone who always loved to work with his hands, and throughout his life this manifested in different ways. He had various hobbies throughout the years. He could spend hours practicing Chinese paintbrush, or finding broken things at a garage sale and fixing them, or scouring a junkyard looking for the right part to fix a junky car. He also spent many years doing real estate and construction, and he often said he used philosophy to figure out how best to fix or build something. Although his teaching schedule was packed, he made time to travel with my mother throughout the world. They traveled throughout Europe and Asia, and in their later years, their favorite form of travel was via cruise ship. This allowed him to disconnect from the demands of his life and enjoy a time of rest and relaxation. My father buried my mom in February 2020, and he never said so, but I think this was the most difficult thing he faced in his life. He also spent bits of his last years pondering his legacy, whether it was the seminaries he founded or shepherded, or the writings and teachings he leaves behind. But I think the legacy he leaves behind is in each of us here, how he loved us, helped us, taught us, mentored us, shaped us, and challenged us. My father passed peacefully in his home on March 24th. I want to say a special word of thanks to those who helped care for him in his last days, including Monica, Trainee, Victor, Space, Joan, Danny, my Auntie Hannah, and my Uncle Alex. Although it's hard to say goodbye to him on earth, my father was ready to go, and he was at peace with it. He was ready to see Jesus face to face.